1 Peter 4:8 says, "Most important of all, continue to show deep love for each other, for love covers a multitude of sins." So a few weeks ago, when Rick gave me the opportunity to speak today, we had just lost a member of our family. We lost our 14-year-old black lab named Bo. And Bo was a rescue. My wife rescued Bo 2 years before we had met from Lucky Labs Rescue. And I want to talk a little bit about Bo, but I figured we'd show some pictures first. So we didn't know a lot about Bo in his previous home at the rescue. All we knew is that when my wife got him, he was extremely malnourished. You could see his rib bones, and he did not like any adult humans. So if you were an adult, he was like, yeah, I don't really want to be around you. It obviously had some trauma from his past owner. So this is a picture of maybe like a day after they had just gotten him. You can see he's a little bit scared, very small, but immediately caught on to my stepdaughter, Grace. Just showed her a bunch of love, loves kids, and that's really what inspired my wife to keep him home. So you want to go to the next one? This is a picture about a year later. You can see how well adjusted he was after some food scraps and a lot of love. He became, we call him King Bo. He's very regal. He just looks always very stately whenever he's getting a photo taken. So you can go to the next one. This is Bo doing his famous trick. What he would do, we didn't teach him this trick. He just kind of naturally did it. He would shove his head through the fence, and then he would start crying, roar, 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 like that. And everyone would think, oh my God, this dog is stuck in the fence. Let me go help him. And then he would pull his head out and run around the other side of the house. So he loved attention. This is Bo in his natural habitat. He is snuggling with my wife, his favorite activity. And this is Bo in his favorite costume. He loved being Superman. Bo was my wife told me one time that he loved Halloween, and I thought she was just making stuff up. But then I actually saw when she broke out the cape how excited he got, and he really did love being Superman every year. This is Bo as he started to age. You can see he's not as regal as he once was. He's trying, but he's got a gray beard, and I'll talk a little bit about the tongue. That's going to matter later, but just so you can see how he kind of aged. And then this last picture, Bo, as he started to get older, he couldn't see as well, and he started to develop cataracts. But he loved our Christmas tree. He loved the Christmas lights. And he would just sit at the couch and stare at those Christmas lights. So when we found out that Bo had an aggressive lung cancer and he wasn't going to be around with us much longer, my stepdaughter said, hey, why don't we bring the Christmas tree down? So we brought the Christmas tree, I think it was, May? And he got to look at the lights. We took this picture because he literally was just staring at the lights. So that was a few days before he passed. So thank you for that, by the way. So our dog had aggressive lung cancer. We ended up putting him down a few weeks ago. And it was during this time that I was just really reflecting about this dog and how it could mean so much to us. Like, because my wife was distraught. I mean, she couldn't go a day she really couldn't go a few minutes without crying, just in real despair. And we were missing our dog, and I just thought, like, I don't understand. Like, how can this animal? It's never spoken to us, right? It doesn't speak English. It's not communicating to us. Why do we have these deep emotions and this emotional connection to this dog? Like, what is it about dogs that make us so attracted to them and we really miss them when they're not here? There's a lot of reasons, and I think one of the biggest ones is that when a dog comes into our lives, they give us unconditional love, right? They're not coming at us and judging us. They don't care, if we're wearing our PJs. They don't care if we didn't do our hair this morning. They don't care what kind of car we drive or what our house looks like. They're just excited to be around us. They have just a very loving energy that seems to transcend all of our bad behavior and all of our bad characteristics, right? They just love. And that unconditional acceptance, we don't get that in a lot of places, right? We're lacking that in our day-to-day lives. And I truly believe that God is calling us, all of us, to do what I call is the ministry of presence. It's not my term, but it's the ministry of presence. And it's something that dogs are phenomenally good at. They don't have big elaborate plans. Your dog's biggest plan for the day might be, hey, we should go on a walk. But they're there and they're loving, and it means a lot to us. And I believe God is calling us to the same kind of activity. For me personally, that's difficult because I'm terrible at ministry of presence. I'm the kind of person, I'm an ideas guy. I like to come up with big, crazy, outlandish ideas. And what usually ends up happening is I start thinking about stuff. I start thinking about all these ideas, and then I get paralyzed and I don't do anything. And then meanwhile, the dog's just showing up on the couch, panting, and everyone's excited to be around it. So there's something there. There's something to this, and I think we need to explore it a little bit more. Right now there is an epidemic of loneliness going on in our society. They think, depending on who you read, it's greater than 50% of people in our society, in our country, are lonely. And that's a shocking statistic. So if you're not lonely, look to the person to the left of you or the right of you. One of you is lonely, right? Statistically speaking. And the government, it's so much of a problem that the government is actually doing something about it. The government put together an 80-some page report on loneliness in the country. And let me do you a favor, don't read it. It's really boring. So I'm gonna summarize it for you so that you don't have to read this 80-page document. But what it says in this report is, hey, as mom and pop shops are being replaced by big box stores, and social engagements around in our community are being replaced by online engagement, and people have stopped attending church to the level that they have. People are missing these opportunities for connections in their own community, and they're really lonely. And the government thinks that we should do something about it, which I find interesting. The government's getting involved because they've studied the effects of loneliness. And what they're finding is that people that are lonely get sick more often. And these are noticeable numbers. It's outside the probability of error. So this is a real thing. And when lonely people get sick, they get sicker than people that aren't lonely, that are well connected. And the life expectancy of someone who's lonely drops dramatically. So the government has recognized that this is a problem and we need to do something about it. And the good news is I do believe that our modern day church is the only institution that's capable of handling this properly, right? Because the government doesn't know how to get our community together and engage together. They've been trying for a few hundred years and it's not working well, right? Our businesses aren't going to step up to the plate. Businesses are concerned about profits, right? They're not concerned about your health and your well-being. The really only institution that I see that really truly cares about people and is set up as a mission to go and reach people that are lonely is, in my opinion, it's God's people. It's the church. So he's putting us in a position where we have an opportunity to make an impact in this area where people are really begging, right? We've got people who are lonely. They don't have anyone to come and sit with, especially when you're talking about people in elderly care facilities or people that are struggling with homelessness. We have children that don't have parents that are in foster care systems. We have prisoners who aren't getting visited. And these people are really struggling. They're really hurting. And they're looking for someone to come and fill that void. And they're filling it with all sorts of things: drugs, alcohol, TV, the internet, social media. All these different things that people are filling with. But they're not filling it with the most important thing. And that's Jesus, right? And that's why I believe God's calling us to do something about it. And I think he's calling us to have more of that dog energy, right? Where we're less judgmental and we're just excited to be around people. When people show up, we get happy and we get excited. And when they sense that excitement, they're getting happy and they're getting excited. And we're changing lives to this presence, right? We talked about the government and what they're doing and getting involved. But there are people, specifically, I'll talk about like an elderly care facility where loneliness is really a big problem. And there are people that get paid to do the programming at these elderly care facilities. There are people who get paid to say, hey, like Wednesday's bingo night, Thursday we're going to do board game night, Friday we're going to do, listen to music. None of these programs from these people who are trained professionals can beat the impact of a dog. So they've done some studies where they bring a dog into an elderly care facility, and the researchers are like, we don't understand what's going on here. This lady hasn't left her room in 6 months. Now all of a sudden she's walking this dog around the halls. This guy hasn't said a word to us since he got here. Now he's baby talking the Labrador, and he's petting it, and he's getting all excited. So people are getting animated. They're getting excited. They're having life that they haven't had in a while. And what happened? We brought a dog in the facility. The dog isn't doing anything. He's not dancing. He's not singing. He's not reciting poetry. He's just showing up. He's just there, wagging his tail and letting you pet him. And this is changing people's lives. So we don't have to have big elaborate plans. We don't have to have everything right and everything in order before we can start reaching people and making an impact. We just really have to show up. And that brings me to the verse for today, that love covers a multitude of sins. So I want to tell you about my dog. A year ago, back in July, we found out that my dog had mouth cancer, aggressive mouth cancer. And the only way to stop it at the time was to take half of his jaw out. So we did the surgery. It was expensive. But the vet told us he would have, pretty decent quality of life afterwards. And he did. He lived for almost an entire year, very healthy during that period. But he did have one side effect. The side effect was that when he went to eat, it looked like a sawdust factory. So he couldn't control his mouth. So he's lapping food up. And every time he puts his tongue on the food, food's flying up in the air. It's going everywhere. We actually had to start feeding him outside because it would take us 10 or 15 minutes to clean it. We'd have to get a ladder and clean the ceiling off from all the food chunks. Why do I tell that story? Well, do you think for 1 second that we weren't going to feed our dog? I mean, this dog that we just spent thousands of dollars on a surgery, medication, x-rays, and all this stuff. Were we like, no, we're not feeding you today? No. In fact, it was with joy that I took a wet paper towel and wiped all over his face like a 2-year-old. We did it every day. And, there's times where your dog goes out to use the bathroom and he comes back and something didn't detach properly and he jumps on your couch. And yeah, it's a little frustrating, but do we kick the dog out of the house or do we get rid of the dog? No. Well, why not? Because our dogs love us. They're unconditionally loving animals. So when they make mistakes, we're very quick to forgive, right? Because we know how much our dogs love us. And I believe that this is what this verse is talking about in 1 Peter 4:8 when it says love covers a multitude of sins. Go out and love people deeply, right? Let's get involved with people's lives. Let's reach people that are hurting and that are lonely. And if we do that, we're going to make mistakes. It's not going to be pretty. You can't minister to people in need, to real people, and not have it be a little messy. We're going to make some mistakes, The band's going to play the wrong note every once in a while. I'm going to fumble with my words. We're going to have things that go on in the church that we might be upset about. People are on vacation. Attendance is light today. None of that is going to matter when we're loving people. When we're going out in the community and bringing people to us, or we're going out and reaching people that would never come to church, like when you do line dancing, or you have a church at a dog park, and people that are never going to come into this building, they're never going to hear a message here. But they love their dogs, and they love the park, and they love to hang out there. God is calling us to be present in their lives. And when we do that, and when we're excited to be with them, we're excited to be with the people in our community, people's lives are going to be changed. Our lives are going to be changed. We're going to find a great joy when it comes to meeting other people, other God's children. Because I believe that we are all God's children. And He's asking us to be united. And I know that you all are very personally connected with this idea that we're not all united, right? Like, there's some stuff that's going on right now. But that's not His dream. His dream is that we all are going to get along. His dream is that we all hold hands and that we enjoy each other's presence, because every single person in this world has God's fingerprint on them. Every single person. And God isn't telling us to judge others. He's not telling us to lay down condemnation. He's telling us to go and love and find his fingerprint on every single person. And I can tell you from my unique personal experience, specifically in serving in the prison, I'm going to the place where everyone's telling me these are the worst people we have, right? These are the people, lock them up and throw away the key, right? It's the worst society has to offer. And yet I'm going down there and I'm finding hundreds of men who are inspirations to me with how they live their life. I'm blessed by being in a spot that nobody else wants to go, that the world tells me there's no value here. And this is the calling that I think God is putting on us. It's not to have elaborate ministries. It's really just to be present with the people that need us the most. So let's go out into our communities, continue to do the things that you're doing, continue to find ways to reach people that are lonely, and keep doing it, because when you do, you're going to find that not only is your community changed, but we're changed too. And I believe it's all for the better. So go out and be man's best friend. Thank you.